staying in the realm of 140, we had the guy that some people were calling the boogeyman of 140, Subriel Matias. So he went in there against Paro. He had like his homecoming in Puerto Rico, big event. He went out there and he lost, right? And this was a guy who was talking crazy, calling guys chickens, calling guys out of their names. And I mean, Matias had lost before. This is not the first loss on his record. You know what I'm saying? But I think he was, pretty heavy favorite against Paro. He went out there and lost, right? So now, and then, we could throw this guy in there too, but he wasn't a champion. Gary Anton Russell loses to Alberto Puello, right? Devin Haney coming off a loss is supposed to fight Sandor Martin, but you got some guys some dark horses here at 140, shaking up the division, so do you expect some of these guys to continue to make noise but I kind of want to start off with Matias. Like, has your perception of Matias changed, or just how do you feel about Matias currently?
Nah, my perception of Matias has not changed. He has a style. He has that bruising style that can beat great fighters, but it's a style where he can lose to good or decent fighters. He reminds me of those archetypes, like a Maidana-ish, like those type of archetypes that are just bruises. They come forward, they give you a tough fight, and they have the potential to upset, great fighters. But they can, because of their style and wear and tear, they can also lose to decent or fighters that you don't expect them to lose to. Especially you kind of you're just as active with them, and you can outbox them, which happened to Matias. So I'm not surprised by it at all. But I also think it just kind of shake things up too, because now we're seeing, when we see fighters lose more frequently, I think the fans will be more open to and okay with it, just like with the UFC. And we have 3 fighters coming off losses, right? Like you mentioned, Devin Haney, Gary Anton Russell, now Matias at the 140-pound division. So now they're going to be even more hungrier to kind of get back, and they could potentially even face each other. Only thing I'm disappointed about is because Matias was talking crazy about Regis, and he actually got Regis hyped up. And Regis was like, you know what? I want Matias next. I'll get him. Like, he's talking a lot. I want him. So now with this loss, does that affect that fight? They're both coming off losses, but Regis is the cash cow.
So one guy that wasn't mentioned that I would like to see kind of get a shot at somebody here is Ismael Barosa.
Yeah.
For lack of better terms, if you don't know, the old man who fought Rolly Romero. But remember, he ended up having that fight where Oscar was talking crazy, like, yo, watch this. This is the next star. Barosa stops him in the first round. But, it just goes on to add the depth of the 140-pound division. I was actually hoping to see Barosa versus Matias. I thought that would be a barn burner. But I think Matias really messed the pack up, right? Because he was becoming more and more marketable. They were saying he was the boogeyman, even though I do think this boogeyman term is overused. They were saying Matias is the boogeyman. Obviously, he had the fight where it ended in tragedy. But he was the last 5 fights, he stopped guys on the stool. It was just the bruising power to come forward. It was just an exciting style, right? Paro really threw a wrench in that, but I mean, good boxing is good boxing. He won that fight fair and square. You know what I'm saying? So now he's the champion. I'm almost thinking, like, who do we want to see Paro fight, right? Alberto Puello, does he deserve a shot? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Barosa, obviously there's unifications with Teofimo. We see what happened with Devin and Sandor. Pitbull Cruz is still up there with that title. You know what I'm saying? Man, so what I like about 140, it kind of feels like 154 to me a few years ago, where the depth was there.
Right.
Like, maybe it didn't necessarily have that one megastar,
right,
but the depth was there. You know what I'm saying? And it was a deep division. So I'm really enjoying 140. But to kind of get back to what I was saying, that I was shocked. I was shocked because, like, I knew Matias' style was pretty one-dimensional, but it's just been working for him, right? And I was like, yo, if you're going to beat him, it's probably got to be a heavy hitter who's going to, like, really back him up. You know what I'm saying? So very shocking loss. Very shocking loss. More so than the Gary Anton Russell.
Would you say, are you, the Anton Russell, because Alberto was good. He has experience fighting a lot of southpaws.
Mhm.
He was throwing, and you could tell he was one step ahead of Gary.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
that was there. But would you say in the Paro versus Matias fight, were you more surprised about Paro's approach in that fight, his performance, or more so about just Matias just losing in general? Would you say
I'm,
is it how he lost, or just him?
I'm gonna say Paro's approach. He looked very comfortable throughout the fight, you know, and I guess I kept feeling like, you know, the pressure's gonna get him, the pressure's gonna get him, the pressure's gonna get him.
I'm not gonna lie, I agree with you. Like the way Paro was fighting in the beginning, I thought the pressure eventually was gonna get to him, but he caught a second win. I can agree. I was surprised really about that, right? Of course, I had Matias winning, but I wasn't like shocked when he lost. But when what the way Paro started fighting, especially towards the latter half of the fight, and he started throwing punches and his stamina, the way he was able to withstand, and he just was throwing. He was throwing a lot of punches, turning, and he was really boxing him. It really, and I don't know if Matias threw less statistically in this fight. I don't know what it was, but sometimes these fighters come from injuries, you know, in training camps. And, you know, Matias been getting injured a lot in his training camps as of recent. Don't want to make excuses for the guy, but, you know, a lot of shit can happen.
Lot of pressure on him too, you know, that homecoming, you know what I'm saying? And yo, the bright lights. You know, I'm not saying it's not for him, but it's not for everybody, right? But I don't necessarily think that's why he lost. I just think on that night, the better guy won.
Yep.
And like I said, I think Matias' style is just really one dimensional. You know what I'm saying? I guess I just thought something else. I thought it was gonna have to be a heavy hitter. And I mean, Paro got good punch, right? Go back to the Montana Love fight, like so he can punch. But I guess I thought it had to be a bigger puncher where it's gonna be like a game of chicken. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like I always mess up the term. You know, somebody in the comment, please get me right on this term. An immovable object and an unstoppable, whatever it is. You know the term I'm going for.
Unstoppable force versus a movable object.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Matias would lose to it, and as I said, he's been defeated before, so this can't be that shocking. You know what I mean? But you know, like I said, he was just. I think the name was just really blowing up. The trajectory was like this, and now I feel like it's either gonna like plateau or like decline.
Yeah, agree.